Hello everyone and welcome back to another video, this time for something different. We are going to be talking about something else. Today we are going to be talking about INGAME Studios, a new developer located in Brno in Czech Republic that has just been recently announced. Now the reason I am making a video about it is not just because it's a pretty good thing to see more and more studios opening in regions that do not have a history of making video games as rich as other regions like the Western Europe or the USA, but it's also, if not more importantly, because INGAME Studios is going to focus on making super atmospheric tactical shooter games on both PC and console. The company's statement on their temporary website goes as follows: "We are a group of people with love and passion for making games. Our team members have worked on many important Czech games over the last 20 years. Now we have joined together to create the best atmospheric and cooperative first-person shooter games for both PC and consoles using the Unreal Engine." Okay, so a few things that I like very much about this, starting with the most obvious, which is the kind of games they want to make. As stated previously, they want to make the best atmospheric and cooperative first-person shooter games for PC and consoles. Now, this does not mean they will be super realistic tactical shooter games like those we have been featuring on the channel so far. They could have a science fiction, maybe futuristic or medieval themes, but we will get back to that later. Also, it's not clear yet if all their games will be released on both PC and consoles every time they release the game. They may release their games on both formats every time, or maybe make PC or console only games in the future. It's not quite clear yet. The other super interesting thing here is that we don't really have a lot of super atmospheric and cooperative first-person shooter games on console, or at least the kind of games that we see on PC that are super hardcore. And I think that's most of the time what the tactical shooter audience expects. It's something that is really hard to play, hardcore gameplay, unforgiving gameplay. And most of the time when we think console, we think, let's make a game that is easy to access. Let's make a game that is easy to play because of the cost related to making a console game. Especially since for the past few years, we still needed physical copies to sell games on consoles, but maybe that is changing, and maybe there is an opportunity there for studios to actually start making more hardcore tactical shooter games for console as well. We'll see. The second point I like is that they want to use the Unreal Engine, which, as many of you probably already know, is a well-established game engine, which means that it would be very easy for the developers to get proper support from the Epic Games developers when working with the engine, but also in terms of marketing, like maybe signing an exclusive deal to release on the Epic launcher in exchange of, for money to develop the game, since paying for the Unreal Engine is actually pretty expensive. That being said, using such game engine also means having to deal with their limitations and not being able to do much about it. So while working on a game using your own engine requires more work and resources to be invested from the beginning, it also means you can do pretty much everything you want. But again, at this stage, it looks like the developers of INGAME Studios have already started working on their next game, so they have done a lot of pre-production and probably already identified that the Unreal Engine will most definitely let them do whatever they want for their next project, which is pretty good. Finally, experience. Although this studio has just recently been announced, it obviously has been around and running for a little while already, at least from November 2020. The studio is currently composed of 40 staff members, several of whom have been working in the games industry for over 20 years, and they are actually hiring a lot more people. And just to name a few, the managing director of INGAME Studios is Vietcong, who is an industry veteran with over 20 years of experience and has worked at major companies such as 2K and Bohemian Interactive. We're a big fan of Arma 3 here. Jake has held different roles and responsibilities over his career, meaning he has an extremely good understanding of both the business side of things, because he's the CEO of the company, but also the development side of things, because he himself worked on a lot of games as a developer. But let's get back to the game they might want to make. Just remember that we don't know much about this studio, we don't know much about the project, so everything that is coming next in this video is from my own interpretation. On the studio's Twitter account, they recently started sharing details on the kind of games that inspired the team to create the company, work together, work in the industry in the first place, but also on their next project. And one of the games they have featured twice already is Vietcong, which was a pretty good tactical FPS game released in 2003 on PC. The lead designer was Jared Koller actually, who is, as we said earlier, the managing director of INGAME Studios, so it's like full circle for him. It was a very popular game for its setting, for its atmosphere, its realism, and obviously its very hardcore gameplay, since most of the weapons would one-shot everything and everyone, which wasn't really popular back then. It honestly was groundbreaking, to the point that most people that I know and who have played the game finished it multiple times because it was that good. Anyway, so they mentioned Vietcong because at least 7 of them worked on the game, most of them played it, and they are very inspired by some of the features the game had when working on the next project. The immersive single-player experience, which is always a good thing in terms of content, but it also helps to make the rest of the game really good. And forgiving co-op and longevity due to team multiplayer, which is exactly what we like. This is exactly what we want, right? A game that is very hard, a game that requires tactical and strategic thinking to be played properly, to be enjoyed properly, especially when played with at least 2 people in co-op or competitive multiplayer. Gameplay over visual, I'm all up for that. I don't need the latest graphics technologies to enjoy a game. I don't think graphics actually is all you need to make the atmosphere. The gameplay and the audio play a more important role in my opinion. Strong emphasis on audio and significant music, well, there you go, that's exactly what I just said. And then they followed with a list of innovative features that Vietcong had, features that games back in the days didn't have, such as the ADS, the voting, no HUD, one life co-op missions, and so on. So I think what these developers are trying to tell us is that they are here to innovate, but they are telling us that using very basic things as foundations, things that maybe we had years ago in games like Vietcong, and improving them will be already enough, or what is necessary to make the most atmospheric tactical shooter games. And I think this is a message that resonates very well with this audience. This is the kind of message we want to hear, especially after the release of certain big games last year that didn't go as well as initially anticipated. Games like Escape from Tarkov, Hell Let Loose, Ground Branch, Arma 3, Zero Hour, Ready or Not, and so on. All those games that we love so much, all those games that I feature on this channel, they don't have the best graphics ever. Some of them will maybe have better graphics in due time because they are in early access and the devs are still working on them, but most of those games are very atmospheric or extremely tactical because of their gameplay, because of their sound effects, their sound design, because of their gunplay, because of the team play aspect of the game, but not because of the graphics. So I'm excited to see a new studio opening in Eastern Europe composed of very talented and passionate and experienced developers working on a more atmospheric and hopefully hardcore tactical shooter games for both PC and console. I hope we will see more about their games very soon, and I will be here to cover it. I will be keeping an eye on this studio. Let me know in the comments below what you think their first game could be or what you would like it to be. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and don't forget to subscribe to support the channel. I am Hotrod of the Road Foundation. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time.